So we are sitting here with Jesse Tipping, owner of Pretty River Sports and Entertainment, the Athlete Institute. Wanted to get you on the show for a while now and kind of pick your brain and just, be able to tell people who you are, what you've done, why you've done it, and why you're important to this basketball world.
That's yet to be seen.
Well, we're here. We've been doing it, and I think, as much popularity as there is out there with the Athlete Institute, I still think we got a long ways to go, and I think you spearheading and driving the force behind it is going to really make it a household name.
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal, right? Let our brand be seen across the world and be the powerhouse to create basketball players. I mean, Canada's been sort of lurking in the shadows for years now, and I think my goal was just to give them a platform that they could be proud of, that represents who they are, represents who we are as Canadians, constantly being underdogs, constantly being taken for granted, constantly sort of wanting to show who we are, and that's what we do at AI, right? And that's why we've seen success, because our guys are dogs because they want it more than other guys. So
yeah, I mean, I threw that intro in and just tried to pick your brain. But if you were to intro yourself, what do you think you would tell people about yourself and kind of what your goals are in terms of who you are, where you came from? And, if I gave you 2 minutes right now and said, tell the world who you are, what would that sound like?
I only got 2 minutes. I only probably need 10 seconds. But really through all of this, I think it's just my passion was to help young men become men and, using sport as a vessel. My dad taught me that, and that's always been the foundation of what I do with basketball, with sport, is that sports is just a vessel in order to impact lives. And basketball is just a vessel in order to, get a scholarship, impact lives, create character, create men, create, business leaders, create fathers, create husbands, whatever it might be. It's the vessel that I've picked to be able to impact. And I think that's what, I'd intro myself as someone who has spent their life thus far trying to improve the lives of others.
Now, you played. Give us a bit of background on you in basketball and kind of where this passion comes from.
Well, God gifted me with unlimited amounts of confidence. So I always thought I was better than I was. Good. Yeah. So, nobody was ever better than me in my eyes. I was always, destined for greatness basketball-wise. But I think that's what it was. It just gave me a drive to find more in basketball. And, I played in high school.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to 3 different high schools. So I started at Orangeville District. Then they canceled sports, canceled basketball. So I went to Pickering College in Newmarket, which is a private school. Their gym was basically 50 feet long. So I, averaged 50 there, which was...
You shoot from the inbounds on the other end.
Exactly, yeah.
Like playing at Eastern Conference.
Exactly. So went there. I was trying to find that there was no prep schools back then, so I was trying to pave a road back then, and that would work for me. And, that didn't work out. So then I went to St. Andrews College, which is more of a sports school. And as much as I love that, that school, it still wasn't, what I was looking for basketball training, a basketball school, but it just didn't exist back then. So that's where I went to high school, and then 3 high schools, 3 colleges. I took a scholarship to a Division II school, Houghton College in New York. Was there for a semester. Realized that they're no better than the Canadian colleges here. Came back, went to Brock University for 3 years. Transferred there to Waterloo, focused more on my studies at Waterloo, played at Waterloo for 2 years.
That's good. I mean, when I listen to all these moves through the basketball world, it reminds me of a story that you told with your family from young. You're accustomed to moving and, kind of reintegrating yourself into different parts of the world. Tell us a bit about, unrelated to basketball, but a little bit about your childhood and growing up.
Yeah, definitely. I went to 15 different schools before I finished high school. So we were on the move a lot. Always the new kid. What it did teach me was I was always able to reinvent myself. If I didn't like what I was like the year before, or didn't like, the direction I was headed, I could reinvent myself, change who I wanted to be in the next school. Because I kind of knew I was always going to...
You carry over nicknames from the cool guys in the other school.
Exactly. I'm like, yo, those guys did that over here. I'm going to try it out, see if it works.
Call me Jay.
Yeah, exactly. But that was across different continents, different countries. We lived in England, lived in Hawaii. We were in New Zealand for a while, in Florida. So we were around the map.
Where was your favorite place besides here, obviously?
I really liked England. None of the rest of my family liked it, but when we moved there, my dad took a job basically redoing the grounds of like a really old, 500-year-old boys boarding school. So they wanted to give it a facelift. He was sort of in the grounds, in the grounds department, sort of designing golf courses, stuff like that. So he was hired on to do the grounds of it.
He still likes doing that. I see him flying around here in the tractor.
Yeah, when he's on a tractor, he's his real self. But
he puts his tunes on with the headphone and
exactly.
goes to work.
Puts his beats on and away he goes. But what I liked about it the best was basically they moved us into this massive old boarding school with, the main building had over 200 rooms in it. It had a gym that was like, run down, but it was all to myself. They had all these.
And you guys were the only people in this place?
There was us and another family who had,
so you were living
boys
like
my
a king,
age.
literally.
So it was crazy. It was like, you're the ultimate adventure for, a 10, 11-year-old boy. Your own gym, your own private fortress. And I'm just, running around causing havoc and having a great time.
What's the worst thing you guys? I know you got a brother and a sister, and I'm sure they were a bit younger than you. But what's the worst thing you guys did there? Something that they probably say, "Oh my gosh!"
The worst thing we did, me and a friend, we were playing. There was these big castle gates that were 30 feet high with spikes on the top, like old iron spikes and stuff like that. And me and a friend, we were messing around, pretending we were sword fighting or something like that. And he shoved me up against this big gate, and one of the spikes fell off and came down, hit me in the chest, sliced my chest open, hit him on the chest, knocked him out. He hit his head. He was unconscious. And I thought, I was like, oh, this guy's dead. And
you were more worried about him or your chest?
I was more worried about him. There's blood on the ground. He's not, he's unconscious and stuff like that. My brother's there. He's screaming like a girl because he's 4 years old or whatever he was.
He still does that.
Yeah. And, it was pretty scary, but it turns out, he just got knocked out, a couple of stitches. I had a couple of stitches on my chest. All was good, but it was some scary stuff.
So just taking that to another level, what, that happens over in this huge boarding school in England, mischievous. When I sit and talk to you about reminiscing in the past with your family, what's the most mischievous thing that your brother and sister ever got into, or the craziest thing that maybe your brother did or you did?
Oh, geez. We were pretty reckless. Me and my sister mainly. Me and my younger sister. She's only a year and a half younger than me, and my brother's 5 years younger. And he was always sort of that, leech that was always around, always trying to.
He's a test case dummy. You sent him to do all the bad stuff.
But my younger sister, she was always game for anything. Whether we were towing her behind a 4-wheeler through cornfields, and she's on a GT in the middle of summer, with goggles on, just getting pelted by corn, or whatever it was, she was always game for it. I used to bury her in the snow 5 feet down and just give her a hose to breathe out.
That's up here, obviously, and there's a lot of snow.
And just give her a hose and be like, oh, you'll be all right. Just breathe out of this. So,
and that as he grew, it became a hose with beer at the top.
Yeah, maybe later. But I think it was always just, our parents kind of always had this freedom of just sort of go, play outside, get in trouble. And sort of here's your boundaries of what you're not supposed to do and figure it out. So we figured out a lot of things, and being in a lot of different countries, you figure a lot of things out. You do those things in Hawaii, you get chased by wild boars. I mean, we were living in army tents in Hawaii for months at a time.
So you go from this all boys school with 100 rooms to like living Lord of the Flies now in Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly. In Hawaii, we were doing hurricane relief because they had a hurricane there. So my family moved us to Hawaii to sort of help families, with the devastation that the hurricane hit on the island. And we were living in big army tents in these big army communities for sort of months. And as a child, you wake up, basically, and you just have, the whole island to just sort of figure out what you want to do. We're chasing, trying to chase bunnies, trying to catch them, trying to chase wild boars, or, doing whatever we want, no hospitals around. I cut my leg open real bad one time. My mom just put some tape on it and said, we can't get to a hospital. Good luck.
The typical guy thing. Just tape it up and go.
Yeah. But, I think, just moving around that much, bouncing around, you really kind of understand how to interact and empathize for, people rather than what they can teach you in a school of what other cultures are like. You see it firsthand. Do
you think that helped you with compassion or at a young age to kind of be sympathetic or?
Oh, 100%.
Do you think that's helped where you've directed yourself as a person?
Yeah, I think it allows you to put yourself in someone else's shoes a lot better when you can sort of see them day to day and see their shoes and see the struggles. So I think for me, it's really allowed me to be able to get out of my shoes and into someone else's and sort of see it from their point of view and their perspective. And it gives me the ability to really want to help those situations and see what I can do to help. So
we get you back over the ocean both ways now from, one side, you're out to the east and over the ocean, and now you're over west. And we get you back here, and I know you told me a story about Pops kind of taking a map of Ontario and pinpointing something kind of with a string that gave a radius of where you guys were gonna basically drop your pin location, and that's basically where we're sitting right now.
Exactly, that's where we sit right now. It was actually, we were in England when it happened, but my dad, it's a pretty cool story because, back then there's no internet and stuff like that either. And he kind of was feeling this pull to go back to Canada. And so he went to a local bookstore in sort of small town England. And, typical sort of Harry Potter stuff, dust all over the books and whatever. And
dust off a map?
Yeah. He says to the lady, he just says, do you have any maps of Canada? And she happened to have one map, only one map, and it was a road map of Southern Ontario. He's like, well, this is perfect. So he takes it and basically just, takes a ruler, finds sort of all the major populations of Ontario, and draws a line, an equal line from each sort of major population. And he hit Orangeville, and he said, okay, that's where we're moving. Because, he had this sort of, he didn't know why at the time, but he just said for some reason he felt that we need to move there, being where it was in the landscape of Ontario. And, him being a guy that acts fast, I'm pretty sure we were on a flight 2 weeks later.
I'm glad that string wasn't longer, because if it was, an hour and a half and we were in Northern Ontario, or he picked Saskatchewan, I definitely wouldn't be sitting here talking shit with you.
No, exactly. His gut's normally pretty accurate. So, when his gut was here, he follows it wholeheartedly, and we ended up here. Didn't know why for the first couple of years. We were just living here. But then, he felt that his vision was to create a sports complex where kids can kind of learn sports, but do it for a purpose of, impacting lives.
So when that pin drops in this location and he says, hey, there's a lot of factors that go into why he decides to build a gym and how you end up living in this gym for a period of time and walking out your back door downstairs into your own facility. Tell us a little bit about where you got to the point of like moving in here and saying, hey, this is going to be our house?
Yeah. Well, I know it wasn't my mom's decision, but we were living in the area. He decided to build the gym mainly because there was a back-to-back strikes in the school system. One was the teacher strike, and the next was the janitorial strike. So one kind of cut out extracurricular sports. The other one basically limited all gym permits because the janitors basically have to open the gym. And if they're on strike, nobody was allowed to use the gym.
And anyone in Ontario knows that this is frequent.
Yeah,
where these guys are on strike, and
you gotta be buddies with the janitor if you want to use the gym.
You do. You got to prop that back door open, and
yeah, exactly. But we were living in the area. He decided to build the gym, and then while he was building it, he realized, like, I got 4 young kids. He's gonna be working here. But what's the point of having another house? Just build a house attached to it, and we can live there. So he built a residence on the back and moved us all in. So he's not one for, fancy things. He's more of a functionality guy. So he just kind of figures, like, what's the point of having a house when you can just live in a gym?
And so your guys' house is, anyone been to the Athlete Institute, especially the therapy clinic now, is they're basically sitting in your old living room and getting stretched out in a massage in your bedroom and, cooking in the kitchen. And
exactly. It was, the back physio clinic was the whole residence. Anywhere back there was our living room, bedrooms, kitchen, stuff like that. So, it's had a million different purposes since it was our house. Athletes have stayed there in terms of in the summer, whether they want to train. It's been apartments, it's been offices. It's
been like 40 things since I've been here.
Yeah. I mean, this building itself is, chameleon. It changes shapes constantly. It's able to, be used by whatever it needs to be used by. And it's been good. But yeah, living in a gym as a teenager who's trying to make it in basketball is pretty awesome,
And you guys were used to it, living in a school essentially in England, and then tents. I mean, this was other than your mom, I'm sure it was a dream for your family to be able to walk downstairs and get shots up whenever you wanted. And
exactly,
probably explains why you don't come inside the 3-point line at all.
Yeah, well, when you shoot the ball like I do, like you don't go near the basket. You just stay as far away as possible.
So you're saying you shoot from your bedroom?
I can shoot from wherever. It's my gym. But the problem is that at the time I've got this gym, which is unlimited access for basketball, but I got no team to play for. They canceled school sports to the point where now,
and this is because of the strike.
Exactly. So the building opened in 2000. I moved away to boarding school in 2001. So I was here for a year basically with able to use it, and then I've got to move away to boarding school, so I don't even get to use it really.
So who's left here at that time? Is that your sisters or your brother? Or,
yeah, my
or mom and dad
sister
are playing one-on-one?
Yeah, my dad decided that it was a good idea to homeschool my younger brother.
Which was mistake number one.
Which was, I think there was already mistake number one before that, but to homeschool my younger brother, not exactly probably the best situation, but you got to give it to him in terms of, the effort.
His effort was there.
He tried. Thought, he gave it that, but, when math class involves counting the amount of, ping pong rallies you can do back and forth, and so
every teacher that's had Jameson ever since then is now getting an idea of
where
those struggles were from. It came off ping pong rallies and made jump shots.
Yeah, exactly. That was school for him, and he's had quite a road in terms of what he's been through in terms of just schooling and basketball. But it was a pioneer move because the school system wasn't working. He was a kid that didn't fit into the school system. And my dad knew that, he never took someone else's word for it when he said this is what's best. And so, he didn't think it was best, and it might not have been, but everybody has their own pathway. But at the time, it was Jameson was left here homeschooling. My sister Jackie was here in school. My older sister was here in high school as well, and I was away at boarding school.
So there was your dad kind of, has that thought process of trying to look at what's going to be feasible in the future. And I think, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree where, you're doing the exact same thing now of what is feasible, what can we kind of grow here, and what are we doing? What do you think, in your thought process of, taking over and making this into essentially a prep school in a world-class facility, because even outside of the basketball, there's a lot of other stuff to do here in CrossFit and soccer and everything else. What do you think you're looking to achieve, your end goal? What does success look like to you here at the Athlete Institute?
I think it's tough because as soon as you put a finish line of what an end goal looks like, you're kind of satisfied when you get there. And as you know, just being around for the last number of years, our finish line, our end goal is constantly varying. So I think an end goal for me is just constantly being pliable in terms of what the world of sports looks like. And if we don't constantly stay moving, if we don't constantly stay, flexible in our thinking, then I think we'll always get passed by. And I think our goal is to just constantly be flexible. But in terms of like an end goal, I want the Athlete Institute to be a worldwide name that is a leader in sports performance, human performance, basketball performance. And I think we're just at the sort of the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we can do with our physical platform and our, human resource platform. Because it's every year, the world of sports, the world of business is constantly evolving. And I think our goal is to just constantly be at the forefront of innovation and constantly at the forefront of that change.
So what does success look like to you in terms of building? You're a successful entrepreneur. You have a lot of other ventures outside of here. What are you striving towards? What does it mean to you, or what are you trying to get to?
I think success for me, and it's a great question because I ask myself that all the time. But I think success for me is, at the end of the day, just my family and the community around me, because we can work as hard as we want. We can constantly strive. But if the people around us who actually are the ones who matter and care and love for us, don't see us or don't see us as what we want to be seen as, then I think that's a huge miss. So for me, it's family. My son Nash, my wife Chantel, the rest of my family. I think that is success for me, is if I can create an atmosphere where work is not work, but it's just life and fun, that's success. And for me to be able to give others, the more and more we grow, the more and more opportunities I can give others to add to that, family and to add to that success profile. Because each family that, comes in and works, I want them to be able to afford their opportunities to their family to help that atmosphere grow for them as well. So I think that's success for me.
Now, anyone that's walked through here or been around you, you're a big quotes guy. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. And what's your favorite quote, or what is kind of the quote that you live by?
I think it's the one that my dad started when we opened the building. I think it's the most relevant still for me to this day, and that's, you got to give it up to get it back. It's got so many meanings, but at the root of it is you got to let everything go in order to get anything back. And as soon as you put it into the world, when it comes back, it's probably, tenfold. But until you're willing to lose something, until you're willing to, lose in the opportunity, basically take a risk, you're not going to get it back the way you want it to. So you got to give it up to get it back.
Now, with that being said, we've talked about building these businesses and being successful at it. Who do you look up to? Who's your favorite entrepreneur right now? Someone that maybe you don't model yourself after, but you say, I really respect how that person has grown their business or has grown what they've done.
Oh, that's a great question. That's a really good question. Some of the business minds that I really don't know him at all, but like Mark Cuban.
I was going there in a second. It's a good interlude here.
Mark Cuban is, to me, someone who doesn't compromise in his work profile and his, personal beliefs. And he stands up for what he believes in. And, you've seen it in sort of whether it be fines, whether it be controversy, but...
I mean, he had the whole thing where I think he went and worked at Dairy Queen because he had made fun of Dairy Queen workers, or it was some sort of ice cream shop or something. And
yeah, he really puts his sort of money where his mouth is and his mouth where his money is. So to me, that's kind of a stand-up guy. He's got, billions of dollars, but he still understands the value of what worth is. He bought a team, being the Mavericks, and just sitting there and being invested into the success and the personal lives of
he's on the bench with them, right?
Exactly.
He's a teammate.
And if you think if he's not having conversations with players, you're wrong. I'm sure he's talking to his players about how they're doing personally, what they're doing in business. It's not just a commodity to him. It's a lifestyle, and
which kind of goes back to what you were just saying in terms of the environment you're trying to create here.
Exactly. He's really trying to impact the lives of his players, from what I can see from the outside. I don't know,
Now you impacted his life a couple days ago, I think. So you're going to have to get into this story here.
One of the highlights for me, for sure. But on that story, I went to the Team Canada game when they played Dominican Republic. Unfortunately, I was a little bit late getting to the game. So I asked the usher where my seats were. They're walking me to the seats. As I'm walking up, I'm thinking, oh my God, that's Mark Cuban. He's sitting, courtside watching this game. And then as we're getting closer, I'm realizing I'm pretty sure he's in my seat, like the seat that I'm supposed to be sitting in. And then fast forward a minute later, the usher and me are standing there as he's kicking Mark Cuban out of my seat so I can sit down.
Are you saying in your head at this point, yes or no?
I'm thinking, what the hell is going on right now, to the point where I've got to kick Mark Cuban out of this seat?
Are you thinking, damn, I got good tickets this time?
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, these are some decent tickets. But really, I was thinking, like, how do I just sit next to him so I can have a conversation? So
and what would have been the first thing you would have told him or said to him or asked him?
I don't know, man. I was like a schoolgirl at that point, just kind of in shock and awe. I don't get sort of starstruck very often, but like, he's one of those guys that I have a million conversations in my head on what I would ask, and as soon as it came the moment, it was freeze mode.
And then you get in the car and you think, oh, I should have asked that.
Yeah, I should have asked this. I should have said this. But what I took from it was just, he took his time, every single person who wanted a picture. And he took a picture with everybody. He talked to people, as well as, he's screaming at the ref. He's cheering.
He's always really involved.
He's cheering on the player that he was there to watch. Like, he was, it wasn't for a camera. He was who he was, exactly kind of what you see you got.
So you sit down there. He has to shuffle over a couple seats. You pull out your phone and you do a selfie. How did that come about? Because I see the selfie, and Mark, you're going to put the selfie on the screen when we come time to put it in there. But I look at the selfie, and in the background, he looks like he wants to fight you. And, who's the first person you send that selfie to, and what was going through your mind when you said, let me take this picture?
I sent it to my wife, for sure, because she knows, I watch Shark Tank sort of almost religiously. And
who else was in the selfie with you?
Kevin O'Leary was also there. I'm not a big fan of Kevin O'Leary, but, it was cool to talk to him. I've talked to him before, but it was cool to see them both. But, I'm a big fan of Mark Cuban. She knows that. So I sent it to her and just said,
what did she say?
She's not really surprised these days in things that happen to me because, these things seem to happen more often than not in terms of people that I meet and stuff like that. So she was just like, have fun.
Tell him that other seat's mine that he's sitting in now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Mark, you're going to be able to put that in, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the first time I think I've taken a selfie. So I had it on backwards on the camera, on backwards. So had a picture of I tried to do it real fast, so I think I had a picture of the court of me trying to take a selfie, but it was just
so. It was the opposite direction.
The camera was facing the opposite
direction. So you got
direction.
Nav Bhatia in the background instead of Mark Cuban.
So I think that's why he was probably scowling at me, because he's just like, how many selfies is this guy going to take with me in the background?
Just firing at me here.
Yeah, but it was
pretty cool.
It was definitely pretty cool.
You came back here and you were pretty gassed about it. Like, I actually got to meet Mark Cuban and unfortunately I kicked him out of his seat, but it was pretty cool to be able to do that.
Exactly. It was super cool to me. And to me, it was also like, the pathway of what we're doing in this basketball game must be going in the right direction if my life collides with Mark Cuban in the basketball world.
So all you need now is a player from here to be drafted to the Mavericks, and
that's it.
Life comes full circle here to be able to
exactly.
say, "Look at this selfie I got with you."
Exactly.
I mean, you got all the draft picks on the back wall here, and we need a Mavericks hat up here. So, Mark, if you're watching, we gotta get a Mavericks pick next year with O'Shea or Lou or a couple of the guys, or
you got Lou, you can't go wrong. You got O'Shea, you can't go wrong.
So who are you picking? Who are you picking if you're the Dallas Mavericks, and you got to pick someone from the Athlete Institute here next year?
It seems like to fit the profile that he's putting together right now. I would say Lou Gantz fits in pretty good. I would say Iggy. Luka Doncic is pretty much Iggy at this point. So I would hate to see Iggy sort of playing behind.
Second fiddle.
Exactly.
We need Iggy somewhere where he could go get 40 a game.
Exactly, because he's a bucket getter. But I think Lou Gantz with Dennis Smith Jr., that is an athletic backcourt that's
something to be reckoned with, definitely.
Scary.
Big bodies and athleticism all over the place there.
I think Lou Gantz is a sure thing, for the NBA next year. So I think if he gets on the Mavericks, I know where I'm going to watch some games, and I'm probably going to try to sit with Mark.
or sit in his seat this time.
Yeah, I think he's got a little home court advantage on that one.
Definitely. Well, swinging back to something else, I mean, outside of here, everybody kind of needs a break from what they do. And everyone kind of, if we're using basketball terminology, we take a timeout from what it is that feeds us. You have a pilot's license. You recently bought a helicopter. Working on that. Tell us a little bit about that. Why a helicopter? Why a pilot's license? What were you thinking?
Oh, my wife asks me that all the time. What am I thinking? Well, I got my plane license about 4 years ago, and then I realized that if I wanted to fly anywhere, I needed to have enough land to have a runway and have a plane there.
So instead of a runway out back, now we got a soccer field.
Yeah, exactly. Runway has to be certain length, which means I need a certain amount of land to have a runway, which means I got to pay for that land. So I figured that I might as well just get my helicopter license, save the money in buying all the land, and then I can take off and land from wherever I want to. So working on my helicopter license now, almost done.
What do you got left there?
I got about 15 hours left.
Because you do understand that the success of this show is dependent on that helicopter.
Just flying people in.
Just bringing people in. Hey, and being able to... We could be done the show by the time we land. You have that little mic and you could be firing off questions. And
the same reason my dad moved us an hour from everywhere, there's way too much traffic to get to those hours now. So, as this area is building up, it's... I don't like crowds. I don't like traffic. So I figure if I can just fly over top, I can get a lot more done.
Yeah, and I think the same thing. We fly them right in here. This show's a slice. We're out of here. Exactly. It's quick. Drop them back downtown. Grab something to eat. Where are we going to land downtown?
Well, they don't let you land in the city. You'd have to land at Porter or
City Center Airport,
or somewhere just outside the airport. But yeah, we can land anywhere. Really.
Or we gotta get a hold of the guys at Central Tech or something. Someone in the OSBA now that will let us land on their field like we did out in London.
Exactly. Central Tech would be good, or a golf course or something like that. You can drop down and pick somebody up. There's always options. That's the thing.
Now, I'm going to put you really on the spot here and go way out there, and it's a personal question. How old were you when you made your first $1 million?
Yeah. It is a very personal thing. Damn, Thon, everybody's going to ask for raises like this.
That was my next question.
This is like a forced raise situation.
I mean, you have a lot going on. So, I mean, it's without giving any background on your family or anything like that, you in the business world, doing what you do with your companies, when you looked at it and said, damn, I did that. I made this much money doing this that I love.
Yeah, I think I'll just use it as a success point without using sort of dollar figures. But, to that point, when I was about 31, sort of independently, able to really say, oh man, like I made something. This. Yeah, I made something happen. I've, able to make a bunch of money, for myself, for my family. Probably about 31 was that moment.
Now you have a passion for building, and tell us a little bit, about that building. You build companies, but you really do have a brick and mortar, wood and roof fetish for building cottages.
Yeah, I really like architecture. I really like the building process of building houses, taking sort of raw land and turning it into something. So I think when I was 29 or so, I started sort of building houses, sort of executive large houses, and then selling them, find the land, build them. I didn't actually swing a hammer, but, design them, build them, and then be able to sell them.
I mean, I listen to you sometimes walking through the hallway, and I think you're talking to me, and then all of a sudden I hear, no, we don't want that color backsplash, or that fridge is too small, or hey, the boathouse can't sit like that. And
yeah, it's hard to switch your brain constantly to lots of different businesses, but I have lots of passions and lots of different things. And I think that's always been the way I am. Even when I loved playing basketball, I always had loved houses, how they were built, the design aspects of it. And so when I got to a point where it's just like, why don't I give it a try? And then I realized that not everybody has that same gift or that same ability. And that was kind of the differing point for me. It's like, oh, people don't actually...
They kind of dig what I'm doing here.
Yeah, they actually, I'm actually pretty good at this. I'm actually pretty good at designing something and building something that people actually want. And, I've been fortunate enough to, have sort of record-selling projects for the area, for the size and stuff like that.
Now, you've been doing some cottages, correct, as of late?
Yeah, a lot of times it's been in sort of the Muskoka country, which is 2 hours north of Toronto, which is sort of high-end luxury cottages. And it's just knowing the market and doing your numbers and just making sure you stay in numbers. And it's been fortunate enough to have a good market to sell them at. But yeah, I think it was a business out of circumstance in terms of I liked it. I gave it a try, and I was actually pretty good at it. So, and other people aren't. So
what, you look at that and you say, hey, I tried it. I gave it my best shot and it worked out. So you say, I'm going to continue doing it. If I asked you right now, if the owner of one company came to you, any company in the world right now, and said, I want you to invest in my company, what would that company be right now?
Probably Amazon. Jeff Bezos is basically buying up everything, who's the owner of Amazon. But, you just look at what they're doing in the market and you can look at their pieces. I would say
their model is...
Yeah, their model basically just changing every market that they go into. And then when they hit a roadblock, they basically just create a new marketplace and they just keep cycling it around.
Road right around it.
Yeah, so it's, somewhat concerning in terms of, they're going to be big enough business where they basically control all enterprise.
Retail.
And everything. But they're definitely, a leader right now in terms of what they're doing. The other one is probably Dr. Pepper. Whoever owns Dr. Pepper, they just bought
I think you were telling me about this, about the whole coffee.
Yeah, like for some reason I think that, because I saw that
and you're a coffee guy, so as soon as you heard coffee, you were automatically, I got to look at this.
Yeah, the biggest coffee producer sort of company, which I forget what it was called, like Green Roads or not Green Roads, it's the pod ones or whatever it is.
Like the K-Cup
The K-Cups, they basically own K-Cup. Yeah, Keurig, who's owned by a different country. So Keurig was bought by the Dr. Pepper company. And my thought was, oh, they're going to try to create one machine, one, way of you get coffee or your pop in the same dispensary.
So basically a Keurig combined in with a soda stream.
Exactly. They bought the technology for K-Cups. So I'm like, okay, so if they can somehow get K-Cups to be, Dr. Pepper, Coke, whoever it might be, you pop it in and you have the brands and it creates your
now,
Coke.
Is this thing happening or?
Oh, I have no idea.
You just know they've purchased that, or
I just thought, why would a beverage company purchase, Keurig, that technology and stuff like that. So I just kind of thought like, oh, there must be something.
I mean, from a shelf space, even just going back to you with Amazon and looking at it, it makes a whole lot of sense to be able to compress all these bottles of pop and stuff to go into like a little Coca-Cola or a Dr. Pepper K-Cup.
Well, that's the biggest thing in the beverage thing is the shipping and the weight of each product is heavy, right? It's heavy to put it on the shelf. It's heavy to move. So if they can eliminate that part, I mean, it's a game changer.
Well, if we got anyone watching, that's in that beverage industry, you may have just invented something, or you're a couple. You may have someone's looking at you now saying, "Well, I don't know if I'm good at it, but I'm going to try it."
Wow.
And I think
I have no idea, but that was my thought on it.
Yeah,
so.
You might be right. It may be going down that road. I think
maybe
it's looking more and more like. In the world of business, when you have people that you can kind of look at and, with that whole ability to move around and be flexible, companies nowadays it's all about that flexibility to do what you want to do to react to the market. In hindsight, I asked you what company right now you would invest in. In hindsight, what company would have you invested in the past that you think like, I could have been a part of that?
Oh, geez.
Like a Facebook or a Starbucks or.
Yeah, I think on the tech side, probably like a Uber or Airbnb. I mean, those guys really saw something when nobody else did. Now people see them as, market disruptors and of course, it would make sense. But at the time, it really took a lot of, foresight to see like that was going to be a game changer. I definitely didn't see that or have opportunity to see that. But, for the people that did, you get into the ground floor of that and all of a sudden these seed companies, which are nothing, are selling for billions of dollars, right? So I think something like that in that sort of, Uber, Airbnb, Lyft, stuff like that tech space that solves problems that people didn't know that they had, would be, something like that. And I think we're still going to see a lot more of them coming up.
Keep going, yeah. You said the word seed, and I started thinking, with Canada legalizing marijuana coming up, is that something you're going to be looking at, or without giving any ideas away? Because I know you had some ideas, but is that?
I think it's not being a cannabis user, but I think that it's a huge marketplace and product that has been blackballed for no reason, since, whatever it was, before the 50s, 40s, whatever it was that, they said that this was wrong. But I think the medical benefits they'll find from it are going to be, there's billions of dollars raised to, find the cure to cancer, but none of them have even sort of attempted to say, okay, let's try, using this plant, which has all these, properties and known benefits, just because it's bad or against the law. And I think just the stigma of taking that out is going to open up a massive marketplace for not only, your cannabis users and shops and stuff like that, but the medical aspects of it, the medical benefits, all that of just taking, it's basically just taking a technological world and then just introducing like a magic formula and just like, now you can have this, see what you can do with this tool.
It's something that I've been, my brother's in the business. So, I know there was always something off with him, and he started up his own marijuana company in Alberta, and he's got Cheech and Chong as a spokesperson now for it. So it's something I've been looking into the same way, where it's like, obviously I don't use it, but from a financial standpoint, I think the benefits and the use for the general public is going to be huge. How do you think that will impact pro sports?
Well, I think one, they've got it's tough because pro sports in states, especially in the U.S., is all state legislation. So until sort of it's a federal and removed that sort of stigma and
how do you take a guy that lives or plays for the Portland Trail Blazers, and he could go to, let's say, a nightclub or a restaurant, and it's on the menu, and it's legal, but then you say, we're going to drug test you. It's similar to like, hey, you can't drink Hennessy. You can't go to the club and have a bottle of champagne. Like, how do you think that gets regulated and legally with all of the states slowly coming on and Canada as a whole? Do you think there's going to be challenges there in terms of drug policies? And
I think definitely. I think it's just a matter of time. I think there's still a lot of hurdles in terms of sports to say, what's performance enhancing, what's against the rules, and what's not.
Now, do you think it is performance enhancing?
I think a lot of guys would say that.
Or we can have guys going to the locker room getting bags of chips when they sub out, or.
But it's the same thing. Like, dudes are hammering bags of Skittles, which is giving them tons of energy. So is that performance enhancing? Like,
or drinking BioSteel or Gatorade or Red Bull or whatever it is.
It changes their physical chemistry and their state of how they can play. So I think just labeling it performance enhancing is kind of ridiculous. Does it enhance the muscle performance and growth of muscles? No. So I don't think it should be on the same sort of level as your PEDs.
But it is looked at as it could help with the recovery period, or
but I think that's the same as Advil. I mean, I think that's where it should be seen as, in terms of, it's a medical benefit the same way as, electrolytes or anti-inflammatories and stuff like that. And athletes should be able to use that because it's not a performance enhancer. I mean,
so do you think sports science, when we look at recovery periods, we look at the different benefits, you're getting guys in Normatec boots, you're doing all these recovery things with the cryovac machines and ice baths. Is it something that sports science is looking at to say, well, you just got to go outside and have a smoke?
I think the smoking aspect, probably not, but I think in 4 to 5 years, you're going to have a lot of medical professionals after the game saying, here, take this CBD, take this, capsule that, this helps reduce inflammation, reduce, muscle fatigue, helps you get your body into a relaxed state quicker. I think 100%, like it'll start to be, and it already is being recommended by medical professionals. And I think it'll be normal in sort of your 4 to 5 years. I think the smoking aspect of it will
be the deterrent part.
Will still, it'll be a deterrent because it's still, smoke inhalation, and it doesn't, a lot of people say it doesn't have negative effects, but I think in terms of the medical and body benefits of it, I think they'll find better, ingestion points to get the benefits of it. But I think it'll definitely get there very soon.
We talked about sports science. We talked about, developing athletes. What country do you think is leading the charge in terms of sports science right now?
I literally have no idea. But I would say it's the country that takes out the stigma that they've had the last 100 years. So whoever throws out the playbook in terms of what is normal to create an athlete, and they start thinking about actual facts, will lead the way. And a lot of time that, that might be, just in terms of like countries that follow their own guidelines. You've got your sort of Scandinavian countries and European countries like, Finland and stuff like that, who really say, we think this is a better way to do it. So we're going to, do it our own way. I think a country like that, I know China is investing heavily into their sports performance and their.
What about Australia?
I don't know much about Australia. I know that when they have an opinion on something, they stick to it, which is always good. They don't really have a big brother to, judge them or look down on them. So, I know that they've put a lot into their sports sciences and stuff like that. And I think that they always push the envelope in terms of, what they're trying to do.
What
and
about
they love
boxing in Australia or fighting over there? You know where I'm going here is.
Yeah, you're trying to lead me into
we got to talk about this Thon Maker fight, and I know Thon came out with a statement that basically, and we know Thon. That's not him. Very, very high intensity level, but to see what he did there, I think even in his statement, his apology letter, that was uncharacteristic of Thon.
I think it is and it isn't, because I read his statement a couple times, and the one thing that is Thon's MO is he will fight for his teammates.
100%.
He'll go to battle, he'll go to war to protect his family, to protect his teammates.
But do you think that when he was going in to protect his teammates, he said,
flying kick time?
Yeah. What brought those long ass legs up to say, I'm going to give this guy
Listen, you got to fight
a kangaroo kick.
You got to fight with what you got. And if I had legs like Thon, in terms of length,
I mean, he's got like a 7'7" or a 7'9" wingspan. He's getting left hooks and right hooks from center in. His legs, I mean, yeah, they're long, but I'd be throwing those arms.
Yeah, but what are the rules in FIBA?
I don't know.
The moment you throw a punch, is when you get suspended or ejected. or whatever.
So are we saying the new rule book for FIBA is going to say and Thon's legs now too?
If you throw a kick, I don't know, like
if you punch kick or drop kick, because when I first heard about it, they said, "Yo, did you see the video of Thon? He drop kicked a guy," and I'm like. I go automatically back in the days to like Bret Hart and WWF
he's
wrestling.
Off the top rim,
he's just like hanging off the rim, coming down, giving him 2 foots to the chest.
Listen, Don's a smart guy. He probably read the rule book and said, "There's nothing here about throwing kicks, so I'm gonna throw some kicks if I get into a fight."
Now, Canada's came a long ways in basketball, and we're still coming. Australia, when you look at what they're starting to put together over there. I mean, the U.S. is always going to be the U.S. Canada is starting to come. Australia's putting together quite a squad as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be sleeping on Australia. Now with Thon wanting to play for their national team, and then you got Ben Simmons, and then you got Delhi.
Dellavedova, you got Dante Exum.
Exactly, like
they got some pieces.
They got some really good pieces, and the MO of all those guys is they're workhorses. Yeah. Like. They work.
They're the blue collar guys, and
they do their job and they do it really well. And if Australia can put them on the same page and have a good coach around them, I think they're, and they could be in that top 5 category.
I think you need to get on the phone with Mark Cuban and say we need an Australia-Canada game in Dallas and make it how. I think that would be a hell of a game right now if we could get all these guys in Canada to play.
Who's going to play for Canada?
Well. I mean, they're rolling along right now.
Yeah,
they're looking pretty good. There's chemistry there. Maybe they don't have all of the pieces of the puzzle in terms of all the NBA guys playing, but they're rolling right now and they're winning.
Yeah, I think the beauty of Canada right now is we got a lot of pieces to pick from. So when a couple of the guys don't play, the backups of who does play, they're pretty good players. Like
we're at a point where. We're not selecting NBA players now. It used to be we'd sprinkle 1 or 2 in, and now it's like, hey, we got 25 NBA players or whatever that number is. We actually got to check what is that number. How many Canadians are in the NBA right now, Mark? But
I think Orangeville Prep could beat the Virgin Islands. So
I would agree. Definitely.
So we'll see when they actually get a strong test because the past. Hasn't been great for those strong tests, but when they get a strong test, if they're able to step up and play, they got horses. They got bodies, they got bigs, they got guards, they got they got a couple shooters.
They got the pieces.
They got pieces. It's just when they get faced to a challenge, are they going to step up?
What I'm going to flip this totally right back onto because when we say Canada basketball's coming and Australia's there is like we say we know what time it is in Canada. We're really in touch with the growth of the game here and a lot of it started here at the Athlete Institute. But I'm going to flip it back to the whole timepiece and ask you what is your favorite watch? What is if you're going to go out and you're meeting, Mark Cuban for dinner, what watch are you putting on?
Depends what kind of dinner it is.
Steak dinner, expensive spot.
All right. I'll probably wear the watch my wife gave to me for our anniversary, which is a Hamilton, which is one of the oldest watch companies in the world. But it's your classic brown leather band, clean face, Hamilton watch. But I've always loved watches from the time I got my first watch. I still remember what my first watch was.
What was it?
It was a Shark. So the brand was Shark, and it's basically like a diver's watch or whatever. I got it.
You're wearing a diver's watch right now too.
Yeah.
What do you got on?
Well, this is actually a pilot watch, but it can go up down to 200 meters. This is a Breitling Super Ocean Heritage Edition, which my wife actually got me as well. So she knows. She understands my.
She expects you to be on time.
Ridiculous watch fetish, and she.
So how many watches do you have?
I probably have about 30.
Most expensive watch, cheapest watch that you'll wear.
Most expensive. Don't go crazy with watches. Probably like 15 grand, which is very expensive.
Because we all know that she wears the pants there. If she lets you, what watch are you going to buy?
I don't like expensive watches. I like watches that have a meaning to me. So if I really like the Richard Mille watch, but that's like a $250,000 watch. I ain't buying that one, that's for sure.
Now, I think recently I saw something, and I can't remember who it was on the internet, had just bought a watch, and I think it was like $3.5 million or something. They blinged it out, and it like ridiculous.
Well, watches are when a watchmaker makes a watch, it's exactly how it's supposed to be. So when guys toss bling on all these watches and stuff like that, to me, it's a tragedy.
How does one get their money back off that? Who's going to buy a $3.5 million? And I think that number is right, and we could search it up or whatever. But who buys that after you're done with it?
Somebody with $3.5 billion. That's who buys it. But diamonds are always worth something. It's commodity, right? They can strip them out; they'll never get the actual value back, but they're always going to be worth something. Anybody who's buying a watch that expensive is, probably poor with money. But it's crazy. I think watches are, if people buy watches just because they're expensive, they're buying them for the wrong reason.
You got to buy them because you like them.
You got to buy them because you like them. They're pieces of art.
And what's the cheapest watch you'd buy? Or, is it the Apple Watch or is it?
I have a watch that was $15. I really like it.
Don't even know the name. It looked cool.
No, it's just, it looked cool. It was $15. I got it. I really like it. It keeps time. It's bright situations. I really liked it's all when you wear them, right? Because I really liked the G-Shocks when I was training a lot of athletes and stuff like that. I probably have
all the colors,
20 G-Shocks and stuff like that. But it all comes back to my first watch. I still remember it, the band I had on it, and from then on, I always liked watches, and I always wanted one day to have a Breitling, and now I've got one.
You got it, so you're satisfied.
Yeah, I'm satisfied.
Slightly satisfied.
The moment you start wanting watches because they're expensive, it's the wrong reason. So it's an art thing for me. So
now flipping back to the previous question when we were talking about how many Canadians on the roster, I think I saw something pop up there, Mark, is 2017-2018 season, which is a season to just pass by. I think there was 12 Canadians on NBA rosters. Is that correct?
Yep.
And numerous in the G League, which are also helping power, like you said, that next tier of basketball players. I'm going to get into a couple general sports questions with you and just pick your brain rapid fire of, winners. And I'm going to say NFL, who's winning the Super Bowl this year?
Giants.
He says that every year.
Yeah. Ride or die, the New York Giants.
NBA.
I want to say Golden State, but I cannot count out LeBron, especially now if they're trying to put pieces together and he has a whole year to run. To me, Rondo's a winner. If they've got Rondo and they've got LeBron, a lot can happen out of that. So I'm gonna say the Lakers. So
it's going on a limb there. Major League Baseball. It's definitely not the Blue
Yankees.
Jays. Yankees?
Yeah.
And we get into kind of, my favorite because I got some players that play in it, but CFL.
I don't know much about the CFL. Argos because my boy Pinball, so I've got to say the Argos. You're
staying with the homers there. And Major League Soccer.
TFC. I think they'll turn it around.
Yeah, they're not doing so hot right now.
Because of my boy Ricketts.
It's, anything that you want to kind of put out there to people in regards to you as a person, kind of a last message in terms of the mark or legacy you want to leave.
I think it's just the decisions that I make are always based on, how it will affect others and how it will impact the majority of the lives around it. So I would just, say for me, that's always my deciding factor in terms of why I make business decisions, life decisions, whatever it might be. And I think for others who are trying to get in whatever industry, you're always successful if you positively impact others. Whether you are running a restaurant, whether you are, a bank teller, whatever it might be, if you positively impact others, what you're doing is already a success.
Yeah, I mean, you're big on it. I remember you walking down the hallway one day saying that I need positive vibes in here, no more negativity. Everything's got to be positive, and I think it just makes things so much easier when you could come in here and everyone's just flowing. It's no matter what's happening, no matter if it's a good day or a bad day, it's like, hey, it is what it is. We're going to get through this, and let's just have fun doing this. And I think that's really where I see us going right now.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think like any business, when you run a business, there's ups and downs, there's struggles. But if you have the right team with you and they know why you're doing something and why you're sort of leading the pack the way you are, and you're constantly filtering down positive reinforcement, I think everybody is always going to work harder. I think everybody is always on the same page. So I think positive vibes and positive energy can never go wrong. So, and it's hard to instill a lot of time because a lot of time there's negative stuff that goes on or big downs in business and
especially
in
in the basketball world.
Exactly. I mean, the basketball world, you're hated till you make it, and once you made it, you haven't made it big enough, and
once you make it big enough, then you're hated again.
Exactly. And once you make it big enough, you're hated again. And for us, it always comes back to, are we positively affecting the people who are invested in what we do? And if we can, and that's our employees, that's our players, that's our community. So,
and that's where I jump back in and say, when you and I met, we had lunch over California sandwiches, and your goal was to get a scholarship. And every day I'm in here, I'm saying our goal is just to get a scholarship. It doesn't matter if that's 7, 8, 9, 10 of them, but our goal is still the same, is to be able to provide an opportunity for kids to train, learn, and move on to post-secondary where they have an opportunity to use basketball as their strength. And that's my reminding factor every single day when you walk in here.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If we can give somebody a free education through the use of basketball, they might not understand.
Free after they leave here.
After they leave here, yeah. Yeah, it's an investment while they're here.
And again, it's, we've done a great job without patting ourselves on the back. I mean, anyone that's been into the Athlete Institute will look at that wall and say, in 5 short years, that wall is filling up to the point where Mark's going to have to find other walls in this building to be able to keep that thing going. And, now we got a little wall with NBA guys. Did you ever think that would happen? The NBA part.
No, not really. I mean, you always have it as a goal, right? But it's it's one of those things where it's always a lofty goal. And the fact that it happened twice in 1 year and now it's a reality possibly every year. I mean, that's more of a testament to the talent in Canada and how it's going, because, you know, Thon and Jamal, they would have been NBA players whether they came here or not. I 100% believe that we prepared them better than anywhere else could have for, you know, the NBA. But were they going to get there? Yeah. Were they going to have the instant success that they did as soon as they got there? Maybe, maybe not. But I think that us basically preparing everybody for whatever their next step is, you know, prepared them for the NBA. And the fact that we have, you know, two guys drafted in the NBA, playing in the NBA, and much more to come, I think, no, I didn't expect that, but I expected our foundation, our framework to be able to support it if it did happen. Yeah, absolutely.
One thing we do on here is everything big into shoes. I know you're a shoe guy. I love shoes. I know all the kids love shoes, but one thing we're going to do is a thing, you know, check what's on your feet right now. And you could just put your feet under here, and we got a little camera that we're going to take some pictures and really check the kicks that everyone's wearing in here. So, you know.
Yeah. I got my summer Kobe's on.
With socks or without?
Without socks.
Jesus. It's a tragedy.
Bro, Nike's too good to us. You give us that many shoes.
So you could stink them up, throw them away, and you still got another one.
Exactly. But
it must be nice.
You're the one who got me into this. It's your fault that I got a whole room's full of shoes. That's for sure. I had one pair of Jordans when I met you. Now
you're golfing in them.
Now I'm golfing in them. Now they're everywhere. You know.
I thought I was happy. I got a new pair of Jordan golf shoes. And I sent him a picture, and he's like, yeah, those are cool. I have them too. And I'm like, this can't be. I was the one always getting them first, and now this guy is beating me to the punch on Jordan golf shoes of all things.
That's your fault. That's on you. You got to keep up, man. No.
I'm trying. I'm going to have to make that's why this is here. We're going to get Mark Bain on the phone right after this and see if I could get caught up with we need some of those Nike golf shoes.
Boehner, I know we're the same size, so I know your closet is too full, so you know my address.
I see that pile that Bain puts together every year where he says closet cleaning. Yeah. The problem is I don't know where they all go. So
yeah, I love shoes. I've always loved shoes, but now I just have a lot more of them than before, and now they're all Nike. So
I like wearing them. I like being different. I like, I like when the kids, and this, it's going to be taken the wrong way, but I like when they ask them and you just take them off your feet and give it to them, and they're happy as hell getting a pair of kicks that, we wore once. I mean, I don't think too many people are taking those Kobe's off your feet when you're done with them, though.
Oh, I'm sure
your brother might.
These are my second pair because they already got stolen by my dad, the first ones. So I didn't get these second ones.
And what I do purposely now, and Mark knows this, I order them the wrong size shoes. Yeah, I order them, 13s all the time?
No, I order you 12s. I'm a size 13, so I got to give them away.
So if you're sending free kicks to Jesse, size 12.
Yeah, exactly. But
hey, speaking of that, Mark's office is really picking up. When I walked in there was some style. I seen him going out the back door one day. What he does, he's sneaky with it. He gets to like a nice size pile and then he leaves with them so that the pile has to rebuild again.
Grow again?
Yeah. Yeah. I seen some 15s and 16s in there. It was some giveaways, I think.
Shoes are awesome, man, and everybody knows that. Everybody likes shoes if they have the chance.
Jarrell's back there saying, I ain't got none. He and some Gucci flip-flops or something back there.
Jarrell's a AI rookie, so you got to earn your keep to get the shoes. Yeah.
I mean, even Hoff comes in. Hoff now, he's on the down low with his shoe game. He walks in and he's like, hey, did you see these shoes? And it's not. He'll never ask. He won't say, "Hey, I want those shoes." He'll be like, "Hey, have you seen these new Metcons?" And I'm like, "No." Oh, look, they're pretty. That means Hoff wants Metcons. Yeah. So we ordered a whole bunch of Metcons, and I think we got the Metcon 4s this year for the guys. And I didn't even know what the hell Metcons were when you guys were talking to me about them. You were saying
it was a CrossFit shoe, training shoe.
But I wear them, and I'm like, yo, they're pretty cool. They got this little plastic pad on the back, so when I put the brakes on, my feet
Yeah.
You know, I had no clue what the hell they are, but
those are for handstand push-ups.
Yeah, I ain't never doing those. I need a head brace.
What shoes do you have on?
Me, I got some Hirachis. It's comfortable summer, good little kicks, you know, custom pinks with some green.
I love the Hirachis. They're my favorite shoes right now.
They are.
Yeah.
It's funny because I don't know why. I look at Hirachis and I feel like they're super cool, but like all old people like to wear them.
It's just
like you see those 55-year-old funky old dudes and they got Hirachis on all black or all white. And
just wait till they put Velcro on instead of laces.
I love them because I'm lazy. So when I see them at the door, I just put them on like flip-flops. I don't even have to worry about messing up the heel.
No, it's perfect.
So it's great. Well, Jesse, it was a pleasure having you on, and you know, hopefully we can come back, recap, and just check our progress from time to time. And if there's ever anything that you want to sit down and shoot the shit on, let's get this done. We're right here, and appreciate you taking your time out of the summer and having us all having fun doing this.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. The conversation had a lot of different ebbs and flows, and there's a reason I guess you didn't give me a heads up what we're talking about.
No, definitely not. I asked you if you wanted to see the questions. You only read 2. And I told you.
But it was a lot of fun. I think I think this is a great platform. Absolutely, and I appreciate you having me on.
No, absolutely. Thank you. And Mark and Jarrell and Chris. Come here, Chris. Come here. This first episode, we got to get you in here. Say hello to everyone. This is Chris. Chris has been around.
He's a legend.
He's a legend in here. He's at every game, films everything. He's behind the cameras here working for us, and we appreciate you here.
Thank you.
We'll be working for him one day, probably.
Probably. I mean, he's another guy. We got to get him some kicks, too. He's got, I don't know what those are. Some. But I know he's been sneaking some from Mark. Yeah. We just got to get the Nikes on you in here for a bit. But we out, and anyone that's played for me, I'm going to end it for Iggy with one of these.